The cloud. Okay. And I will also send a link to the recording along with ingredients, lists, and recipes that Vero provides. And finally, I'd like to thank Vero so much for joining us. As many of you know, Vero is a very special person to us at the library. She was a staff member. She was head of our board of trustees, and we're so lucky to have her back. And Vero, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Steve. Bonsoir. Good evening, everybody. So we're in the winter, and this winter is a harsh one. So I thought, okay, um, what could we do to kind of brighten up our evening? And maybe this weekend, people want to try the recipes we're going to talk about tonight. And I was talking to Cindy, one of our great librarians at Wigan, and we both love cooking. We were talking about what have we eaten recently that we liked, and Cindy had actually gotten me a little pamphlet from one of her cruises in the Caribbean. She went to Martinique, the French Antilles, and she had the chef who's portrayed right here um, do a cooking demonstration, and she was very impressed. So she got a couple little booklets and kindly brought one back for me with little simple recipes. Um, those are great recipes. Unfortunately, most of the there's always one or two ingredients in there that I can't find. You can't find here. So those, although they are great recipes, it's a little hard to find the ingredients. So I did a lot of digging and found a couple recipes that will be easy, I think, not too hard to find the ingredients, and that you might enjoy reproducing after this class. So I want to talk a little bit about the French Antilles. So the French Antilles are a group of islands. There's Guadeloupe, Martinique. Those are like the two big ones. And then there's Saint Barthélemy, everybody calls this Saint Bart, and Saint Martin, which is shared between France and the Netherlands. So Martinique is known as the Isle of Flowers. It's magnificent, all sorts of tropical flowers there. It offers a volcanic scenery. There's Mount Pelée there. Mount Pelée has been very active. Yeah, it was only in 1902, but for volcano, it's like it was yesterday that you tripped over something going outside. So in 1902, Mount Pelée actually erupted and killed about 30,000 people in the capital, which was Saint-Pierre at the time. It was obviously rebuilt. Beautiful beaches there, and a really vibrant Creole culture. So Martinique and Guadeloupe, they're overseas territorial collectivities of France, which means people who live there have a French passport, they're French citizens, they're part of the EU, and that's since 1946 that they were integrated with France. The culture there, a blend of French, Afro-Caribbean tradition. Creole is the main language spoken there alongside French. And Martinique was originally inhabited by the Arawak and then later the Carib indigenous people. And it was sighted by Columbus in 1493. The first visit from the settlers was in 1502. And the first French settlement was really established permanently in 1635. And the island at that time became, they primarily became a cane sugar producer. And Britain tried to take the island from the French, so on and off, Britain and France kind of battled there. And finally, in 1814, the island was permanently returned to France. Unfortunately, there was a lot of slaves used to work in the cane fields there, and slavery there was abolished in 1848. And then that led to a big influx of immigrants, laborers from India and China, and so that's how they get the influence in the culture and the food with all the spices and things like that. So lots of fresh fruits, vegetables, spices mix. The cuisine there is very flavorful, and I would say the main ingredients is mostly fresh vegetables, fruits, and the spices. That's really like the dominant. They actually don't really eat a lot of meat there. They eat chicken, they eat curry, which is a kind of goat meat. But principally, I would say the diet is vegetarian. So, like I said, I try to make recipes, to find recipes that we can make here, that we don't have to go on a 2-day adventure all over the Northeast to find the ingredients for. And but that was still fun in cooking. Um, so some of the vegetables that are mostly used there, jicama, you might know jicama. It's kind of like a round, big root. They use a lot of root vegetables there also. I forgot to mention. And jicama is also called the Mexican turnip. It's great in salads. Um, Boniato, that's a tropical sweet potato. Eat a lot of sweet potatoes. They have different types there. Chayote squash, that's a green rounded squash. It's eaten raw or cooked. And in Louisiana and the French Antilles, it's called mirliton. And it's usually stuffed with a beef mixture like beef and rice. Um, Kind of like you would stuff peppers or something like that. Uh, Nopale. So nopale is the stem of the prickly pear. So that's a prickly pear, but then it has a big flat kind of stem, like kind of like a cacti. Well, it looks like from the cacti, a cacti family, and that's sautéed usually with other vegetables. And then yucca root is also a big part of the diet there. And then the fruits, we have guava, mango, plantains, of course, papaya, the prickly pear, carambol, which is the star fruit, which originally came from Indonesia, tamarind, cherry moya or custard apple. I would love to find one. It looks like a kind of a rounded artichoke, but inside it's white like an apple or like a Granny Smith kind of, but it's like creamy. It's almost creamy texture, and it's actually used in like desserts, but also in regular main dish, salted dish. So that's it for the fruit. So I wanted to start with a little cocktail or a mocktail without the rum, and you can adapt it on depending on the juices that you have on hand. So usually we hear about punch, punch, rum, and that's basically rum mixed with fruit juices. Um, so this one is just a cocktail that's usually made. So they usually use pineapple juice, guava juice, mango juice. And the secret to all that is, and I'm gonna make one, and I'll probably use it tomorrow, is what we're gonna add to it. So we're gonna do 1 cup of pineapple. In the islands, they use banana juice, but same, that's not really available here. I'm using mango, pineapple, guava, and I'm gonna use lime juice. You could also use an orange. And the secret to this one is we're gonna let it sit for like 12, at least 12 hours, and then it will be served on ice cubes. So like I said, it's versatile. You can have it, you can have it for breakfast as if you keep it as mocktail. Um, so here I have very special um, vanilla from Madagascar. And I'm gonna add just a little bit. And so it's, basically scraped vanilla from the beans, straight from the beans. I'm gonna add a bean, partial to these Tahitian vanilla. Um, oops. I'm gonna add a sprinkling of cinnamon and pepper. Might be looking odd, but it absolutely ends up delicious. And a lime. So I washed it. I'm gonna zest the lime, and then I'm gonna squeeze the lime. Um, so I bought that this morning, and I know you got the store and you see those limes, and usually in the past I was always looking for the bright dark green ones, and I learned that actually those are really better because if they're getting to be light green, almost yellow, because that means they're really ripe. So now that's what I look for. So I'm just gonna use the zester and you know, I always zest limes and lemons when I use them for anything. And then I just like put the zest in a little baggie. You can put it in your freezer, it lasts for a long time. And then you can add it to some drinks or even to some baking recipe. Really versatile. So another way not to waste all the elements of the lime. And I just juice it. Um, and same, you don't need um, any electric utensils to zest the lime. You can just, that smells delicious. And voila, lime. Um, and you don't know what to stir with. You don't want to dirty something. Those little chopsticks you get from the takeout restaurants, they're very useful. I use them for stirring. I use them as my plant pots to support small plants or baby plants. They have all sorts of uses. So mixed really nice, stirred. And so if you were gonna add the rum, you would have, if you want to do a cocktail, you're gonna add the rum at the same time. You're gonna let everything steep together. If you're doing the mocktail, just the juices, then put it in the fridge. I prefer like a dark rum for that, something with a little more taste. That's gonna kind of elevate everything. So voila, we have a nice little mocktail that's gonna infuse um, for probably until tomorrow. So I'll take that out of the way. So now we have a cocktail. Um, in the recipes that we will send over, there's also a little appetizer. I'm not gonna do it tonight for the sake of time, but it's sweet potato croquettes. So it's they're called kromeskis in the islands. They're very popular. They're about the size of a big olive, and they're think mozzarella sticks, but elevated. So it's basically sweet potato um, cooked, mixed with garlic, scallions, eggs, nutmeg, and then you make this kind of dough with it. You let it sit in the fridge for an hour so it hardens a little bit. And then you roll them in panko crumbs and you fry them. And you can fry them in a low pan, just like, with about half an inch of oil or something, and just keep rolling them. Those sticks are useful to roll things that you're frying in a pan. So there'll be the recipe in there in the pamphlet that you will be getting. So I'm going to move on to the main dish, which is going to be, I wanted a dish that you feel comfortable to do this weekend or sometime. Not something that has a million ingredients and that seems really scary. So I chose an easy chicken curry from the Antilles. And it's basically chicken curry that you can kind of whip up in about 30 minutes. Um, and we have chicken breast, lime, garlic cloves, onion, creme fraiche, which I'll go over after, uh, just regular bananas, and curry powder. So it's a very simple recipe that I think will be accessible to everybody, and very simple ingredients. So what we start is with the chicken. So I've cut the chicken in in cubes, about like 10 inch, 3/4 and an inch. So 4 chicken breasts, and the recipe is for 4 servings. So we have the chicken. We're gonna zest lime that I just used in the other one. So we're gonna normally you would add lime zest. I'm gonna use just regular lime juice from a little bottle, but I'm gonna add some of the lemon zest instead. And I think I've said it before. And cooking is different than baking. Cooking, just be resourceful, like lime, lemon zest. That's fine. It's gonna be lemony taste. So I'm just gonna use just a little bit of this one. Um, so I missed the mark on my shopping today. I forgot one lime. Um, we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of curry powder. So I'm usually a little generous with that because I want it to be really flavorful. But 1, 2, 2.5 teaspoons. Remember, spices are really what's gonna make the difference in your dish. So try to get good spices. Spices are kind of like olive oil too. There's a lot of actually frolated spices that are mixing with other roots, grated and things that don't have any flavor. So I always try to kind of like buy some quality spices. I'm mixing that. I'm gonna get a little bit of lime juice, and I'm gonna start my pan with two um 2 tablespoons of olive oil, so I can saute the chicken. I'll be reappearing right there. So that's called chili, but that's lime juice. And so we're gonna wait for the oil or the pan to heat up, and I'm gonna talk about the creme fraiche, the in between. So it's specific rules for creme fraiche, okay? And creme fraiche is not sour cream. If you have sour cream and you couldn't find creme fraiche, although I found that easily at Market Basket, it's pretty much all the grocery stores now. It's not next to the sour cream, it's next to like the brie and different cheeses. That's where I usually find it. But creme fraiche is cultured cream, so it's much higher content in fat than sour cream. So if you have sour cream and you're like, well, I want to use my sour cream, I don't need to go and get some creme fraiche, that's fine, but you need heavy cream with it. So you need to mix 50-50 sour cream and heavy cream and let it sit for a little while, even half an hour, just so it kind of settles. Because if you just use sour cream, it's gonna curdle and it's not gonna be appetizing. You're not gonna want to eat it. So I'll show you I'm gonna saute the chicken, but I'll show you the texture of the creme fraiche, and I think you'll understand my point. And like I said, this recipe is really like 30 minutes between prep and cooking, and you'll have a full dish. Um, I'll show you what to get to accompany it. So I'm going to show you the sour cream. So see if you couldn't do that with sour cream, it would be coming down. That's creme fraiche. I mean, sour cream would be already on the floor by now. So it's very creamy. It's almost like the texture of cream cheese, but a little softer. So anyway, that's my feel on creme fraiche. It's worth having it. And so with 1 euro container, I already tried this recipe. So you'll make 2 dishes. And you can use it for something called for sour cream to make it a little richer texture. Getting a spoon in a soup, in a mixed blended soup. A velouté, like I talked about last time if you had my last class. But just like to a butternut squash soup or pea soup, that would be perfect to add to it. So I'm gonna saute the chicken. And I'm gonna do a little trick. So those are chopped onion and 4 cloves of garlic. And if you want to save time, what you do is a little trick and you just saute things like chicken in your pan and saute those at the same time. And once the onion starts to be a little translucent, we can mix everything in. On a point in my bowl that looks like a fish. And as you can see. So we're just gonna saute that 5 minutes. So as it's sauteing, usually we're gonna serve that with rice, and we're gonna serve it either with I'm partial to jasmine rice, but you can also do basmati rice. And to give it a little taste, you can cook it in half water, half coconut water, and you can also grate a lime in it to give it some taste. And if you want to cheat because you don't have time, that's fine. You can buy something like that: cilantro, lime, rice, or this coconut jasmine that already goes in the microwave. But those basmati or jasmine would be what I recommend to go with this dish. So just a little more, and I'm starting to see translucent. Remember, we don't want to burn anything. We just want to saute everything. And the color is amazing. Love the color. So while that's sauteing, I want to point to my apron that I brought back from Martinique by my mom about 10 years ago. She went on a big trip there to all the French Antilles. And the fabric is called, the pattern is called Madras. So that's like their plaid fabric. And usually the colors in are like this: green, yellow, orange, blue, and some pink. But that's about the predominant colors of the madras. And it's a good madras with a very prized fabric in the islands. So now we can mix a little bit because everything, the onions are starting to be translucent, and the chicken. And once we feel everything is sauté, I don't see any pink anymore on the chicken. So just a little more. Wait for that stage, and then we're gonna add the creme fraiche, and then we're gonna cover and we're gonna let that simmer for about 10 minutes. And then 10 minutes after, we will be adding the bananas. And this recipe is specifically called for regular bananas. Plantains are more for frying, so it's not going to fry in there because you're going to have kind of a sauce with the creme fraiche. So I guess that's why they called for bananas. The bananas, actually, I tried it hold very good and firm in there. I was pretty surprised. I was expecting to get a banana mush kind of. I didn't know what to expect, and I was pleasantly surprised. So And I'm sure choosing, fairly ripe bananas, whatever the ones I had. Obviously, you wouldn't want to have overripe bananas that would be all black on the outside, because I think then we would get a mush. But you want bananas that are fairly ripe so you can get some flavor. So that's good. So I'm going to add the creme fraiche. And it calls for about 3 tablespoons of creme fraiche. Um, I'm going to add what I have left here. Let's see, I used half of the container last time. don't want to waste any. So I'm going to lower the temperature to simmer. I don't want, but creme fraiche will not, unless you were boiling at very high temperature, will not curdle. So obviously we have the lime juice in there, and it's not going to curdle. It's going to make a nice creamy sauce. So we're going to let that simmer. And let that simmer for about 10 minutes. So I'm going to put my timer. And while we're letting that simmer, we are going to talk about the dessert. I have a sweet tooth, so dessert is my favorite. So dessert is, I think it's going to kind of surprise you. And where I'm going to make it here, I will send you a picture when it gets out of the oven. But it's a carrot cake with ginger and 4 spices. It is a recipe that's from the Antilles. And I'm going to go over the 4 spice mix with you, which is the most important. I try not to drop anything on the floor. So it's going to be low pan cake like that. We're going to turn on the oven at 360. And so the French 4 spice mix. So that's not something same you can find here or mixed up. You can find it in France and in the islands, but not here, unfortunately. So I made it myself. So I gave you the recipe. So the 4 spice mix is like that's gonna do any good. But that's basically a mix of ground white pepper, ground nutmeg, ground ginger, and ground cloves. And you can make a big batch and keep it in an airtight container. I just remade just a little batch for this cake. I would not make more than like 2 or 3 times the proportions here. So it keeps the flavors keep unless you're going to use it every week, which you might not. So I would just make what you need for this cake. And I have made, given the proportions there. So nutmeg, I've been using the nut, and I've been using a microplane to grind it. Much more flavorful than what comes in a little bottle. So that's what I've been using. So for this carrot cake, we're gonna it's a carrot cake with almond flour, most principally. So I used almond flour from whole almonds. So as you're gonna see there, I've already measured everything, but here it's a little more brown because it's ground whole almonds. If you don't like the color, or you can just get ground almonds blanched, which will be ground without the skin, so it will be appearing more like white, like a regular flour when you get the cake is done. This cake it was gonna have some gonna look kind of like a multi-grain cake. But I like the whole almonds. Need to keep looking at this so it doesn't overcook. Yeah, so good. So we're gonna have almond flour, a little bit of regular flour. I'm using raw cane sugar, obviously. In the Antilles, all the sugar used and produced from cane. So that's something they use all the time. I'm gonna use so grated shredded carrots, and I found something perfect. So it calls for 9 ounces of grated carrots, and these packed bag at the store, you don't want to grate carrots, they are 10 ounces. So basically, you can use this bag minus half a cup and put the half a cup in your salad like I did the other day tomorrow. So that's pretty easy. And then It called, so it's very gingery. It goes for canned ginger, which I found at an unnamed store. Um, and I cut it in pieces and then I rolled it in flour and that so it doesn't stick. And when I put it in the dough, I don't get just one big clump. So anything that's kind of sticky like that, you want to roll in just like a handful of flour, sprinkle flour over it, and then kind of toss it in the bowl. So then when you put it in your dough and mix one more time, it's not going to stay in one spot or like go to the bottom of the cake. So. And that candied ginger, it's not crystallized ginger. Crystallized ginger stays kind of hard. So this one is kind of moist and it's like a jelly, a fruit jelly, the texture. So it's going to be really nice. So there's a big accent in this cake on ginger. Sorry, I need to make space here because I'm being overrun. That's what happens when you want to cook with fresh ingredients. So this cake, there's no leavening agent. There's no baking powder, baking soda. We basically use whipped egg whites in soft peaks to get the rise of the cake. So I have my egg whites already whipped, and I have kept them in the fridge. And as you can see right here, oh, it's here, the soft peak. So that's our egg whites. So and egg whites beat better when they're cold, and then keep them cold if you have to keep them for a little while before you use them. Um, I would say a couple hours, not days. So in another bowl, I have the egg yolks. So I use 4 eggs, separated them with the egg whites. In this bowl, I'm gonna with the sugar. So I'm gonna pour the bowl of sugar, raw cane sugar here, and I'm gonna whisk this mixture, as you can see, until it gets lighter. And when it gets lighter, it gets aerated, and that's another factor to get the cake to be moist. That's what happens. You can also do it with a wooden spoon, and just give it a little effort. It's getting changing color already. Not gonna get white, but it's gonna get very much lighter. Kind of like a Genoese color, ou génoise in French. Um, yeah, that's another quirk of cooks. We always taste everything. Okay, so as you can see, this is it's hard with the light, but it's much wider. And if it falls like that, like a ribbon, then it's good. So let's circle a ribbon. So that's a good texture. Like I said, it's really essential to get there, to get not to get like a big lump, a big brick of a cake. It has bubbles that are forming and that are popping. That's really good. That's what we wanted. So now we're gonna add the flowers. So both flowers. So it's 1/3 regular flour, unbleached flour, 2/3 almond flour. Don't remember. I used that in the dish. So I'm gonna use just a regular spoon, wooden spoon. So flour are added. We're also gonna add our four spice mix. So I made the amount that I need for this cake, which is two two teaspoons. So just gonna add those. And you can add, if you really like ginger, you can add more ginger to the mix. You can, you know, change the proportion a little bit and make it more gingery. You can also add that ginger paste. But if you add like something like that, add it after you've mixed in the powdery ones, spices. So add it when it's like a formed dough. Okay, 10 minutes is up. And once again, this, 10 minutes, sometimes it's like, oh, well, it's going to be ready after 8 minutes and we can still move on. So I'm going to do double duty here. And I'm going to cut the bananas to add in the chicken dish because that's going to go on for another 10 minutes. So I'm just going to add the banana and just like, cut them in slices. Then I'm going to mix everything. Then I'm going to let it simmer 10 more minutes and it'll be ready. Okay. Bananas, compost pile. Something to do right now for with banana peels is make a kind of a broth for your plants, for your house plants. Um, you just take two of banana peels you used from bananas you ate. You chop them up like an inch, squares, and let it sit in a jar of water, closed, like a mason jar or something, for a day. And then you can mix that brew with regular water when you water your plants. Lots of minerals there, very good instead of using fertilizer from the store. Okay, so we're gonna let that go about another, like, I would say another just like 6 minutes and then look at it. I'm doing that because I don't want to lose track of time here. So I'm gonna finish mixing the flours, and it's kind of thick, but and pasty, but it's gonna change once we add the carrots and everything else. It's my lemon. Oh, so I'm gonna add the lemon zest. Lemon zest. So I'm gonna zest this lemon. Remember to wash those before you zest them. And same, if you're not super on lemon, just do like half the lemon, or I love lemon. So use the whole thing. And then I'm gonna use, need to remember if I use all the lemon juice. Yep. So we're going to use the juice of the whole lemon. There's the pits there, the seeds. We don't want the seed in the cake, so I'm gonna strain it with my hand, with my fingers. So just strain it with your hand, so you don't get the seeds in your cake or in whatever you're. And here are the seeds. So as you can see, a lot of fruit juices, a lot of citrus, a lot of really flavorful, like all those fruits. Oh, prickly pear, mango, papaya, real, real loaded with these different tastes. Okay, so we have a lemon. And we're gonna add the carrots. So like I said, 9 ounces, so I'm gonna add almost the whole package. I'm gonna keep some for my salad. There you go. Yeah, about right. And I'm gonna mix that. Um, if you have a electric, machine to grate the carrots, you can grate them on the fine setting or even by hand with a grater. They would mix in probably better and kind of disappear more in the cake, but I like both. This one, you'll still see some of the carrots when it's cooked. So you'll know it's carrots, but it's certainly not as deep, like strong or a dark cake as what we know here as a carrot cake. That's, you'll see it's very different if you make it. So that's, we're gonna fold in the egg whites, but before I want to butter the pan. Um, so I use spreadable butter unless you have butter on the counter that you kept. I use spreadable butter. It's just easier, and hands. We can wash our hands, and it's actually the easiest way to butter a pan. Is to put butter on your hands and right. You can use parchment paper if you want to lift it out of there, but just the butter would be fine. So be generous. If you don't use parchment paper, don't be shy on the butter, so it doesn't you don't end up with a sticky mess that you can't pull out as a whole out of the pan later. Uh, and last but not least, I'm gonna add my candied ginger. So just spread it around. Like I said, you could also have added some ginger paste, have some freeze-dried ginger you can also add. There's these little cubes that you find in the freezer section. I have to tell you, this smells really good over here. If you can see it, it's a nice yellow color. And it's just the right amount of curry. It's really nice, not too strong. So it's distinct. So we're gonna fold the egg whites, and because of the texture of this carrot mix, it's not gonna be looking as uniform as if we're just making like a Genoese or something. But try to still like be gentle with the egg whites, fold them in. Ah, okay. Let's say the chicken is done, and I'm gonna turn off the oven, the stove. So fold, and when you fold, you try not to break the eggs, so break the molecules. When you're finished, it shouldn't be like all uniform. You should still see some of the egg whites, the whites, because if you break the structure, then you won't get any rise out of it. So usually you don't stir, you fold. So you go down to the bottom and you lift, and you can always in the same movement. Bring the bottom to the top. It's normal to still see whipped egg whites. You need to be. The only thing is there's going to be a lot of cleanup after this. That's the only thing about cooking. But that's part of it. And So that's about right. So I don't want to overmix, otherwise I'll just have like a flat. When it comes out of here, I want it to have, reason. I don't want it to be just the same um, size, the same depth as it was when I put it in. Want it to be nice and round. Um, I think we'll achieve that. Sometimes some recipes will call for um, using, like they say, an extra egg or two, to just use the egg whites to get more rise out of it. And maybe if you make the cake once and you find it didn't rise enough to your taste, just the next time add another egg white to the four. So that's it. So that's what we have. It's coming about halfway in the pan, and when it's done, I expect it to just like starting to crest. That's what it did last time. So so that's going in the oven 360 for about 50 minutes, but I would say start to test it at about 40 minutes. As you know, all ovens are different, and sometimes you'll be happily surprised, or sometimes you'll be disappointed. You know, either underbaked or overbaked. So I'm just gonna put my timer for 40 minutes, and I'll make sure to send a picture of the result. Um, so that's pretty. Oh, I haven't shown you the. I need to show you the chicken. People see the chicken. So that's our nice chicken with bananas and curry, and it smells absolutely divine. And as you can see, the bananas stayed shape, in shape. Show the importance of simmering. Make sure as soon as you add the creme fraiche and then the bananas, that's like the simmering time. You're done with the sautéing. High temperature in a pan is only for sautéing or for boiling potatoes, something. But for dishes that you want to slowly cook, and to keep everything, the shapes kind of intact, simmer. So same, sometimes it will be for some people, their stoves, it will be completely on low. Some people will be between low and medium. So just adjust. And definitely, I kept a lid on it when I was simmering to keep the humidity in there. If you want the sauce to thicken a little more, you can, the last, say, 5 minutes, you can take the lid off, and obviously with evaporation, you'll get a little thicker sauce. But the consistency of the sauce right now is good. If you are gonna serve that on rice, it has something to pour. It's like semi to pour on the rice. And then when you serve, garnish with lime zest. Garnish with some herbs that you have available. Maybe that would probably call to maybe lime zest or some mint, something really strong and distinct. And grate some on or shred some on the rice. Also, when you have it cooked. And remember, the rice. Next time you cook rice, try to cook it with half coconut water, um, and half regular water. Um, so that's it for me. Um, I'm sorry the cake is not going to be ready in time to show you. And I'm sorry you're not here to be sharing the food with me. But as we said, maybe someday this year we'll figure out a way to do a in-person cooking show at the library. So I'm gonna say, can we open? Do people have questions?
Does anyone have a question they want to type in the chat? We've had a comment that Connie said, wish we had smell-o-vision so she could smell the delicious meal. Yeah, I can't wait to make this myself.
Good.
Joan, I wish we could smell the aroma. So there's a lot of wishing they could smell what you are. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Do
So
you recommend a brand for spices in particular, or a couple different brands that you might recommend?
I like the spices. I like the spices at Trader Joe's. They're good spices, but they don't have a big selection. Otherwise, I like those organic McCormick. And then it just depends on. Hold on, I'm looking in my drawer. The Nature Promise organic. I think they're from Hannaford, the organic ones. Um, I think it's worth spending the difference on organic spices for most of them. So at least that would be a start.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a question? Go ahead and just type it in the chat. And we will be, Vera, you'll be sending along the recipes, the ingredients, all
Yep.
the training materials and photos. So,
Yep.
okay.
Well, thank you for attending, and I hope you like it, and I hope it gives you just a little courage to just try something new and try to. That's something right now that's nice to do in this non-ending winter here. So I think it's worth going to the store and getting a couple ingredients and trying one of those, the dish or the and there'll also be the recipe, like I said, of the sweet potato croquettes, which are really easy. You just need to roast some sweet potatoes in the oven or cook them in the microwave, puree them, add a couple spices, eggs, and then fry the little balls in a pan. So, and something different too to try. So I hope it encourages you to try something new. And I will see you on the 10th of March, hopefully, for early spring, kind of like let's get into the spring mode recipes.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. We got a couple, they want to try the chicken curry and sweet potato recipe this week. One question was, could you just review what you cooked the rice with? Water and it was coconut?
Coconut water.
Okay, coconut
Yeah,
water.
just and I'll write it in there and like 50-50.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Vero, so much. We always love seeing you present and we look forward to making these meals.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.